My name is Gord Miller. I'm the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario. I'm here today to talk about my annual report to the Legislative Assembly, which is, part one was called Losing Touch, and part two of which is called Losing Our Touch, a small variation. I pulled part one out because I was talking about how the obligations of ministries to comply with the Environmental Bill of Rights. And one of the particular issues I pointed out was the Ministry of Natural Resources had not posted for public comment, as they are required to do by law, something called the Provincial Wildlife Population Monitoring Plan. This is a plan that is required under the environmental assessment legislation, and the purpose of the plan is basically to look at the long-term effects of forest management, the cutting of timber and the management of our forest, on terrestrial vertebrates, animals with black bones, things like moose and deer and pine martens, all the way down to chipmunks. Those are vertebrates. What is the long-term effects of the forestry activity on those species on a provincial level? Well, I hadn't posted the plan, and that's a problem. So in part two of the report, I looked further detail into that plan itself and have a look at, well, maybe one of the reasons they didn't post it. And in fact, if you look at it, you find out, now remember, this is a plan that will give us a measure of the performance of the forestry on the effect on wildlife in the long term. And as it turns out, they haven't been doing it. And they had, in 1998, they came out with a version of this plan that said they were going to follow 92 species. Very ambitious. They didn't do it. In 2004, they came out with another version, and they toned it down to 37 species that we're going to monitor and follow. They didn't do it. And in 2010, the portion that I reviewed for this report, they really didn't specify any species. They sort of gave a long list of species that they might consider. Well, the point is, they haven't done it. For 18 years, we don't have long-term wildlife population monitoring data. And what's the significance of that? Well, we don't know the impacts on our wildlife population. If you ask me, are they safe, are they sound, are they healthy? We just don't have the data to say yes or no. But this is a legal responsibility too. This is required by law, and they have not met the obligations of the law. And we are a country still that works by rule of law, and so a failure of a government ministry not to follow the legal requirement is a serious offense. And thirdly, we count on the rest of the world where we sell a lot of our wood products. We promise them that we're managing our forests sustainably. If they challenge us and say, your forests, you're managing them sustainably, are you managing to sustain your wildlife? We can't honestly say. So this is a threat to the viability of our forest industry and our forest exports. This is a serious business. We can't go on. We've gone for 18 years with a complete failure to meet this legal obligation. And I want to point out there is one other culprit here. This is a requirement, as I said, under the environmental assessment legislation. Well, it's up to the Ministry of Environment to administer the Environmental Assessment Act. They're the ones that should be chasing the Ministry of Natural Resources and getting this monitoring in place. Yes, it will cost money, but this is a legal requirement that the viability of our forest industry and the sustainability of our forests depend on. So let's get on with it.